In the year 2027, Earth had changed. Countries no longer fought each other. People came together to build something bigger. Technology moved fast. Cities rose higher, machines became smarter, and humans reached deep into space. Now, the world looked to the sky, waiting for something new, and it came. High above Earth, a massive warship floated in orbit. It was named Atlas I. It was the most powerful ship ever made. Its body was black and silver, long like a city. Lights blinked across its surface. Deep inside the ship, there was a new weapon, a railgun. No one had ever fired a weapon like this before. It was fast, strong, and could break through anything. The weapon was built in silence, hidden from the public. But now, the time had come to use it. Captain Eric Dalton stood on the command bridge of Atlas I. He looked out through the wide glass window. Earth was below, quiet and blue. He was tall, with short dark hair and a calm voice. People trusted him. He had led many missions before, but this one was different. This one would change everything. Next to him stood Dr. Naomi Carter. She wore a black lab coat with the symbol of the Terran Union. She was the one who created the railgun. She spent 10 years working on the project. She didn't smile much. She was smart, focused, and brave. She believed that this weapon would bring peace. Others were not so sure. Space people from other human empires watched. They lived in faraway systems. Some ruled with fear, some ruled with wealth. They all wanted power, and they all feared the weapon. They had spies, had news. They knew the railgun was ready, and they were afraid. On a distant world, Queen Isabella of the High Soul Dominion sat on her throne. She ruled many star systems. Her rule was strong. She had soldiers, ships, and leaders who followed her. But she had no railgun. She watched a secret video of the ship in orbit. She said nothing, but her eyes were sharp. She knew what this meant. If Earth fired the weapon, everything could change. Inside Atlas I, engineers ran final checks. Lights blinked. Power systems warmed up. The railgun was ready. The target was a dead asteroid floating near Saturn. The shot would be a test, but everyone knew it was more than a test. It was a message. Captain Dalton looked at Naomi. She gave a small nod. He turned to his crew. Everyone stood at their posts. The moment was near. Silence filled the ship. Then the order came. Begin countdown. In that moment, the world held its breath. The future was about to begin. Far from Earth, trouble was growing. Not all human empires were happy about the railgun. Many leaders felt afraid. They had large armies, big ships, and strong fleets, but none of them had a weapon like this. They did not want to lose power. They sent spies, hackers, and agents to learn more. They wanted to know when the gun would fire and what it could do. The fear spread fast. Inside Atlas I, the crew worked day and night. The ship moved quietly toward Saturn. Asteroid target floated there like a silent rock in space. It was huge, black, and dead. Nothing lived on it, but soon it would become dust. Captain Eric Dalton stayed calm, but he knew what was coming. He knew that after the railgun fired, the balance would shift. Some would respect Earth, others would get ready for war. Commander Ryan Knox, second in command, stood beside the captain. He was younger, strong, and loyal. He was once a soldier, now a leader. He brought a message to the captain. It came through a secret channel. The message was short but clear. Someone had found out about the test. Unknown fleets were moving near Terran borders. Small ships, unmarked fast. It looked like someone was preparing to attack. Captain Dalton read the message in silence. Then he turned to Naomi Carter, the scientist who built the weapon. She had already guessed this would happen. She had warned them. Now, her warning was real. She looked tired but ready. "They're scared," she said. "They should be. We've built something powerful. Something they don't control." Dalton nodded. "And now they want to stop us before we prove it works." On Earth, leaders of the Terran Union met in secret. Some wanted to cancel the test. Others wanted to fire now, before the enemy acted. The vote was held. The decision was final. The test would go forward. Back on Atlas I, the railgun was fully charged. It hummed with energy. The coils glowed with blue light. The crew wore safety suits, and stood ready. It was the most dangerous moment of their lives. The asteroid target was locked in. The countdown was set again, 10 seconds. Somewhere in deep space, Queen Isabella of the High Soul Dominion sat in her dark chamber. Her generals stood around her. One of them, General Marcus Kane, was angry, wanted to act fast. "We must strike first," he said. "Destroy that ship before they fire. If we wait, we lose." The Queen did not speak. She watched the screen. Countdown had started. 10, 9, 8. The whole galaxy seemed to go quiet. 7, 6, 5. Captain Dalton stood tall. 4, 3, 2. Naomi Carter closed her eyes. 1. The railgun fired. The railgun fired with a flash brighter than anything the crew had ever seen. It did not explode with fire, did not make a loud sound in space. But the power of the shot was strong enough to shake the whole ship. The metal around the weapon glowed hot for a second, then it cooled. The asteroid target was hit in less than a second. It did not just crack. It broke apart, piece by piece, and then vanished. The rock turned into dust. Nothing was left. Inside Atlas 1, no one spoke at first. The crew looked at the screen. The asteroid, once large and solid, was gone. Captain Dalton stared without blinking. Commander Knox leaned forward, still holding his breath. Dr. Naomi Carter opened her eyes and looked at the data. The shot was perfect. No mistake. No error. The railgun worked. Then the silence broke. Cheers filled the room. Some clapped. Some shouted. Even Dalton smiled. But his smile faded fast. He knew what this meant. This was more than a test. This was a message. A clear message to every human empire across space. Earth was no longer behind. Earth now had the most powerful weapon in history. In hidden bunkers and war rooms across the galaxy, leaders watched the same video. They watched the asteroid disappear. They played the shot over and over again. Fear grew in every mind. Some were shocked, some were angry, some stayed silent, thinking deeply about what to do next. On Luna Prime, Queen Isabella turned away from the screen. Her face showed no emotion. But inside, she was thinking hard. Her empire had ruled for a long time. Her fleets were strong. Her name brought fear. But now, Earth had changed the game. They had created something no one else had. General Marcus Kane stepped forward. "This is war," he said. "They fired the weapon. We cannot wait." But the Queen raised her hand. She said nothing for a long moment. Then she whispered one sentence. "We underestimated them." Back on Atlas 1, Captain Dalton met with his officers. The mood was different now. No one smiled. Everyone was alert. They had proven their power, but now they had to protect it. Commander Knox showed a map. Unknown ships were moving near the border. It was not a drill. Someone was getting ready for something. Dr. Naomi Carter sat alone in the engine room. She looked at the railgun. It was quiet again, but she knew the silence would not last. She had built it to protect, not to destroy. But she understood the truth. The world had changed. The rules had changed. The next move was not science. It was politics. Or maybe war.
Yeah, the first shot had been fired.
Now the real test would begin. After the railgun fired, the whole galaxy reacted. News spread fast. Every screen on every world showed the same moment. People watched the asteroid break into dust. Some felt proud, some felt scared. But no one could ignore it. Earth had shown its power, and now everything was different. Captain Eric Dalton stood in the command room of Atlas 1. His hands were behind his back. He looked out into space. The ship floated near Saturn, quiet but ready. The crew around him stayed busy. Some checked sensors, some tracked nearby movement. All of them waited for what would happen next. Commander Ryan Knox entered with a new report. More unknown ships were seen near the edge of Terran space. Small ships, fast ships, not enough to fight, but enough to watch. Spies, most likely. Captain Dalton nodded. He was not surprised. "They are testing us," he said. "They want to see if we will fire again." Down below, in the main lab, Dr. Naomi Carter worked with her team.
Ow.
They checked the railgun systems. The weapon was safe now, cooling down, but it could fire again if needed. She looked at the data again and again. The shot was perfect, no fault. no damage. But still, she felt a storm was coming. Back on Earth, leaders of the Terran Union gathered once more. Some were excited. They wanted to use the Railgun as a threat. They believed fear would bring peace. Others were careful. They wanted peace without fear. They knew war could still come. At the same time, far away, Queen Isabella sat in her war room. Her top officers stood around her. General Marcus Kane, still angry, slammed his hand on the table. "They are warning us," he said. "They show their weapon, and now they wait. We cannot sit and watch. We must strike before they grow stronger." Other officers spoke with softer voices. They warned that a war now would be dangerous. The Railgun was not a myth. It was real. If they attacked and failed, they would lose everything. Queen Isabella said nothing for a while. Then she stood. Her voice was cold and clear. "Call the fleet leaders. Prepare the ships. Act, but do not fire. Not yet." Back on Atlas 1, a message came through the secure line. It was from Earth. Captain Dalton read it in silence. The message was short. He turned to Commander Knox. "We hold position. We do not fire unless attacked." Knox nodded. "And if they test us?" Dalton looked at the stars beyond the window. "Then we remind them." Dr. Carter joined them on the bridge. She looked calm but focused. "We built this to defend," she said. "But if they push us, we cannot step back." The Railgun rested in silence, but its shadow now reached across the stars. The next move belonged to those who feared it, and Earth was ready. The silence after the Railgun test did not last. Across space, powerful human empires moved their fleets. Warships left their hangars. Satellites picked up strange signals. Everyone was watching Earth now. Some waited, some planned, and some prepared for something worse. On Atlas 1, the crew stayed ready. The ship was fully armed. The Railgun was charged again, but Captain Eric Dalton had not given the order to fire. He watched every report coming from the edges of Terran space. Unknown ships kept moving near the borders. Some left, some came back. They were trying to see how far they could go before Earth reacted. Commander Ryan Knox spoke with officers every hour. He trained the crew for possible attacks. He also knew something else. If they made the wrong move, it could start a war. But if they showed weakness, they could lose everything. Captain Dalton called a meeting. Dr. Naomi Carter stood beside him. Officers filled the room. The captain spoke in a clear voice. "We have shown what our weapon can do. Now they wait to see what kind of people we are. If we fire again without reason, we become what they fear. But if we wait too long, they will think we are afraid. We will not be either." One officer asked a question. "What happens if they strike first?" Captain Dalton answered without pause. "Then we answer." Back in her palace, Queen Isabella met with her top commanders. She looked tired, but her eyes stayed sharp. General Marcus Kane walked beside her. He still wanted to attack. He believed waiting was weakness. He pushed again. "Every day we wait, Earth grows stronger. They are building more weapons, more ships. We must act now." The Queen turned to him. Her voice was calm. "You fear the Railgun. That is wise. But fear without thought is dangerous. We do not fight because we are angry. We fight only when there is no other path." Still, her fleet moved closer to the Terran border. Thousands of ships gathered in silence. They formed battle lines but did not fire. It was a game of waiting. One wrong move could set the stars on fire. On Atlas 1, Naomi Carter worked late into the night. She checked every part of the Railgun system. She knew that if it was fired again, it would not be a test. It would be war. She looked at the screen showing ship movements. Then she said quietly, "They are getting too close." In the command room, Captain Dalton watched the same map. "They want us to shoot first," he said. Commander Knox asked, "What if we don't?" Dalton replied, "Then they will have to decide how much they're willing to risk." The line had been drawn. The galaxy had seen the power of Earth. Now, they had to decide whether to fear it, or fight it. The pressure was building. Ships from both sides stood face to face across the black sky. One wrong move could start a war. Both sides waited. No one wanted to speak first. No one wanted to fire first. It was not just about weapons now. It was about pride, fear, and power. Queen Isabella sat in her command hall. She looked at the large screen that showed the Terran fleet. Their ships were ready, but silent. Her own fleet was strong, ready to strike if she gave the word. Her officers stood still. No one dared to speak unless she asked. Then slowly, she raised her hand and pointed to her advisor. "Send a message," she said. "Tell him I want to speak. Directly." The officer looked surprised, but nodded and obeyed. A few hours later, aboard Atlas I, Captain Eric Dalton received the message. Commander Ryan Knox read it out loud. It was not a threat, it was an offer. A request for a meeting face to face. "They want to talk," Knox said. "She wants to meet." Dalton thought for a long moment. "Tell Earth Command, then prepare a team." Dr. Naomi Carter stood near the Railgun control room when she heard the news. She did not smile. She knew it was not over. But a talk was better than a war. 3 days later, a neutral station near the edge of Terran space was chosen. It was old, but safe. Captain Dalton, Commander Knox, and Dr. Carter boarded a smaller ship and flew to the meeting place. They wore clean uniforms, but no weapons. This was not a battle. Not yet. Inside the station, the air was still. Soldiers stood by but did not speak. Then Queen Isabella entered with her guards. She wore dark robes, and her face showed no fear. She sat across from Dalton at a long metal table. No one else spoke. She looked at him and said, "You have built a powerful weapon." Dalton replied, "We built it to protect, but we will use it if we must." "You fired it," she said. "Now the whole galaxy holds its breath." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "We fired at a rock. Warning, not a war." Queen Isabella looked at her for a moment. "I believe you, but others may not." They spoke for hours. About peace, about power, about fear. Both sides listened. Both sides gave ground. It was not perfect, but it was enough. In the end, Queen Isabella stood and said, "Then we wait. We watch. We prepare. But we do not strike in unless you do." Dalton nodded. "That is fair." The leaders left the station. The fleets did not move. No shot was fired. The galaxy stayed quiet for now. But everyone knew the truth. Peace had not won. It had only bought time. And time was running fast. Weeks passed after the meeting. Fleets stayed close to each other, but did not move. No battles began. No more shots were fired. Across the stars, people waited. Some hoped for peace. Others prepared for war. But one thing was clear. Everything had changed after the railgun was fired. Captain Eric Dalton returned to Earth with his team. The government welcomed them back with honor, but Dalton knew the job was not finished. Atlas I stayed in orbit, ready to act if needed. The railgun was now the most watched weapon in the galaxy. Every empire feared it. Every leader talked about it. It had become a symbol. Dr. Naomi Carter gave reports to the Science Council. They wanted to build more weapons like the one on Atlas I. Naomi agreed to help, but only under one condition. She told them, "We must use this power to protect, not to rule." Some listened. Others stayed silent. In the high Sol Dominion, Queen Isabella also returned to her palace. Her people asked questions. Some were angry that she did not strike. Others said she had done the right thing. She answered them with few words. "We are still strong," she said, "but we are not fools." General Marcus Kane was not pleased. He still believed war would come, but he followed orders and waited. He trained his soldiers harder. He doubled the patrols near the border. His eyes stayed fixed on Earth. Back in space, Atlas I became more than a warship. It became a sign of power and balance. Other ships came close to look at it, but none dared to attack. Pilots who flew by in silence called it the sleeping giant. Captain Dalton stayed in command. He trained new officers, watched enemy movements, and read every report. He never let his guard down. He knew this peace would not last forever. One night, Dr. Carter stood alone in the control room, looking at the railgun. It was quiet now, like a sleeping storm. She touched the panel gently. "This is not the end," she said.
Ow.
"This is only the beginning." In secret labs on Earth, new plans were being drawn. Engineers worked day and night. The next generation of weapons was coming. Faster, stronger, even more dangerous. They called it Project X8. No one outside the highest ranks knew what it could do. The galaxy watched Earth with new eyes. The railgun had changed the balance. Now no one could afford to ignore them. No one could afford to act without thinking. Captain Dalton once said, "Power without control is a threat. Power with purpose is a shield." The world remembered those words. Peace held for now. But the stars were watching. The silence of space was full of questions.